Hey, how's it going, everybody? Jess and I decided we were going to sit around and have lunch and watch the new Amazon Rings of Power. And Lord of the Rings, you've read all the Lord of the Rings.
Yes. I guess full disclosure, we both knew this was a big thing that was coming up.
Yeah.
But neither of us were particularly excited to watch it. And so I asked him if he would watch it with me, because sometimes when you do things with friends, it's a lot more fun than doing it on your own.
I mean, I had to review the trailer for this, and I thought the trailer was the most boring thing I ever saw.
Like, you don't really know what it's about.
It's just imagery, and I get it. They're trying to,
look at this lush world.
They're trying to explain such a huge scope and it's a prequel. It's about just before the Rings of Power were made, so the old cast isn't there, so it's all younger people.
Mostly, except for Elrond and Galadriel.
I couldn't tell you who these people are. They have no charisma. I mean, they
just made me miss Hugo Weaving and Cate Blanchett.
Oh my God, Cate Blanchett, the guy they got playing Hugo Weaving, he looks like a cartoon character turned into a human being. He looks ridiculous. His hair is like that kid from Stranger Things with the big pompadour.
Yeah.
Like, dude, get me a ponytail or something. I need a big forehead and a ponytail.
I feel like everyone had such a distinct elf look in the original Lord of the Rings. And also in the Hobbit one.
Yeah. I mean,
then here they were like, no. Suddenly everyone had shorter haircuts, and I was like,
yeah. Like the Hobbits just have trash in their hair.
Yeah.
And they all just look more grimy than they did before. Yeah. And I know the big bone of contention with this, with the fans, was diversity casting. It has nothing to do with the story. It's fine. I have no trouble with it.
I didn't think there was any problem with the diversity.
No, not at all. The problem is this thing's boring.
Yeah.
It is capital B boring.
Yeah.
I didn't have fun with it.
And also, it was kind of hard to tell where everything was building up to. I felt like we were building to something. But what? What were the character motive? What are they trying to accomplish?
We only watched the first 2 episodes. So
Which are only 2 out at the time of recording.
Yeah.
And the new episodes come out every Friday.
I sat there and it was just dead-eyed nothing. I think
you and I were equally confused. Then we put on the subtitles. We're like, maybe we're just not listening to things right. And then we were still confused.
You were sitting there going, did that actually happen? Wait, no, huh? Yeah. And I'm just sitting there going, I never read the books. I honestly don't care about this story. I guess Lord of the Rings ended with Return of the King for me. That's the last one, right? Two Towers, Return of the King.
Yes.
The Hobbit, those movies can go screw. They're horrible.
Those are not fun.
The first movie's a goddamn dinner party, literally, and then the rest is just
too long.
The rest is just Rube Goldberg devices of we're just gonna throw 20 guys this way, and they're gonna fall down a hill, and then they'll get caught by a barrel, and then hit in a river, and then they get out of
so many dwarves, and you always forget who is who, and you're
because they all look alike. And actually, the diversity casting helps a lot with that.
Yeah.
Because the Hobbits, you got 2 black hobbits. I'm like, all right, no problem. And a lot more female characters in this. I will say, and I'm going to get shit for this too, the men do no fighting in this. The men are all a bunch of pussies, and the women are doing all the heavy lifting when it comes to the battle sequences.
Which is, I guess, probably for strong women.
And that's fine. That's fine. But balance out your story, balance out your characters, your plot. It's just, unless you are a dyed-in-the-wool Tolkien fan, and you are.
Yeah, I was like, wait a second.
But I mean, the real, just the ones who defend it, even if it's terrible. They just can't say a foul word about it, because God forbid. I just don't find, I found no joy in a moment of this.
At least I feel like in The Hobbit, I could get through it better. A little bit more.
The way I look at it is the Peter Jackson original trilogy, those are just perfection. They're perfect. I mean, I can sit for 9 to 14 hours, however long the extended cut is.
Watch all.
And have not a I like every even back then. I didn't really know who Viggo Mortensen was, Hugo Weaving. I knew him from The Matrix.
Orlando Bloom was new, so.
Yeah, and you know what? I enjoyed all of them. They were all wonderful, fleshed out characters who did cool shit. At a moment, they do something boring, and then they would pick it up with some cool action scene.
But the thing is, we knew who they were by the end of Fellowship, even, and that's 2 hours, right? We saw each Ring of Powers episode is 1 hour. And so we watched 2 of them. So it's like who am I watching The Fellowship? And
it was just...
not as much stuff happened. It would seem like a lot and then not all was happening. Does that make sense?
I would honestly love to talk about what happens. I don't know. Because it was so boring. I mean, I literally was just bored to tears. I walked away.
You came back.
To get something. I think I went to go get some water. And I came back and literally nothing happened.
Yeah.
I was like, what happened? You're like, nothing. They just sat there like, talking British. And I was like, okay, screw this.
I mean, and I did do some research after watching it a little bit.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and like, I think I might have figured it out. Okay. My conspiracy theory.
I'm curious, because I remembered I was literally making the story up and not even sure if I had it right while we were watching it.
Oh, no, like, what I heard was that, like, so from what I know about, like, how to make television, which is, a lot of it's theoretical from my classes and stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, from what I heard, what happened is that the people who developed Rings of Power only obtained IP rights to Lord of the Rings. And you might think that seems like a lot, but really what that is like the 3 Lord of the Rings books. So that means not the rest of Tolkien's world. That means they had no rights to any of the stories from the Silmarillion.
That's all. I was trying to remember how to say it.
Yeah, and so I'm just trying to think. If you were head of Amazon Studios, whoever your development person comes back and says, I got the rights to Lord of the Rings, and you're like, oh shit, Middle Earth. That's not really true though. It's really just the 3 books, right?
Yeah.
So if you're in charge, then you really have 2 ways you can go about this, right? Because you have the Lord of the Rings books. So like the first way, which is probably the one that makes the most sense, I'm not saying it's the best way, but is the way that makes the most sense.
It can't be worse than this.
Is to readapt all 3 books into a TV series.
You mean the originals?
Yeah, so just do a Lord of the Rings show. Because that's all you have the rights to.
So they made a lot of this.
They should have done that.
They made this stuff up? Or did they just kind of tweak it?
So what the rumor is that because I'm sure whoever was faced with this decision was thinking, oh shit, we cannot do the Lord of the Rings trilogy because the movies are perfection. If we like trying to compete with Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy is really hard. No. So that's like a really hard. You could do it. It's just really hard. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they were like, well, we can't do that, maybe. So then they went the opposite, the other route down the fork. And that route was to adapt the appendices. So at the end of the Lord of the Rings books, at the end of Return of the King, there's a series of appendices, which some of them are like, one of the appendices is purely just like family trees. I don't know if you ever looked at these books in more depth, but it's literally like all these family trees. So you find out that like, for example, horrible as it is, Aragorn and Arwen are actually very distantly related. Like way up the line.
Wait, that's Liv Tyler's character?
Liv Tyler characters, Viggo Mortensen's characters are like vaguely related, like way up in the line. Like if you like go, my Lord of the Rings fans, look up those appendices. They are distantly related.
Really?
So, yeah, like because the problem is like Elrond, according to Silmarillion stuff, is like half. His line of family is all like half elf and half human, and each of them gets the choice whether or not they want to be elf and immortal or human and mortal. That's why in the movies, Arwen is all like, I choose you, I choose a mortal life. That's why that's so significant. It's because his family, everyone has that choice due to something that happened with one of his ancestors. In the Silmarillion, my Tolkien fans, look that up. So, like, anyway, the point is, the appendices range from, like, family trees, literally, to, like, little snippets of stories that have to relate with the Lord of the Rings. However, it's not... You are not going to get, like, an overarching storyline from snippets and family trees. Yeah. And so what I feel like is they shot themselves in the foot by acquiring the rights to only the Lord of the Rings books.
Come on, Bezos, you get money.
Because, it's
cheap bastard. You spent almost, $1 billion on this stupid thing?
I don't know what happened. I don't know if, like, the person who was developing the TV show just entirely was maybe not a Tolkien fan and didn't realize what would happen if they did that, you know what I mean?
Well, I remember when
they should have gotten the rights to the Silmarillion. Because that's the kind of show they wanted to do. They should have gotten the Silmarillion.
I mean, I remember when Jackson was writing it, he had, I believe he had a co-writer, a female writer with him.
He had 2 co-writers who are both female.
And they were just... They were just an index of this entire... They knew the whole series.
Yeah. Philippa Boyens and France Walsh?
Possibly.
Fran Walsh?
I should look it up.
Yeah.
But the thing was, Jackson knew how to craft it in a way that your whole family can like this. I never read Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I read a little bit of The Hobbit when I was a kid, and I remember the cartoon of The Hobbit when I was a kid.
That was weird.
Yeah, that's nightmare
weird.
fuel.
No one likes that.
I never saw the I never saw the.
Sorry, the creators of the cartoon. No one.
I never saw the Ralph Bakshi. I think it was Ralph Bakshi did the Lord of the Rings cartoon, which was all rotoscoped and everything. Cool concept, didn't really work, from what I'm told. But everybody could enjoy it. Even when it got a little weird, you still knew what was going on for the most part. In this, I just didn't care. Like, I didn't glam onto any of the characters.
Yeah.
I found everybody just boring as hell.
And very serious.
Even
Everyone was very serious.
Even
Except for
the
maybe the
hobbits
hobbits
aren't
a little bit
fun.
less.
The girl, like the little girl hobbits are fun.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're going to be a big part of the story. But it's just, I don't know, nobody, like... I wanted more from the dwarves.
Yes.
Like
they were the best part. Like when he went into Khazak Doom, when Elrond went into Khazak Doom, I was like, it got a little bit better. I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah, that was fun. We used to have a little contest to see who could break the stone, and it's like that's fun. And you had some conflict there, and probably the only time you really saw someone acting because he's like, "You left me."
Yeah, and also there was like a friendship being tested.
And it's the only real relationship in the movie besides Arwen and what's his face?
Arwen.
The Galadriel and Elrond. I can, you could
too many names.
Too many names, and watching them trip over their tongues trying to pronounce some of the Tolkien stuff was amazing. I'm like,
sometimes there was definitely like sometimes when the writing where we're just like, huh? Did they just really say what I thought they said?
Yeah, we literally. She's right. We put subtitles on because I was just sitting there going, I can't.
Well, some of it sounded like they were trying to be smarter than they were. That's really mean.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I mean, like.
But honestly, I really do think it has a lot to do with what rights they secured. Because I think they shot themselves in the foot.
Like, Elrond's almost like happy-go-lucky. He's kind of like.
Just weird, bro.
He's not like Hugo Weaving, very serious, and everything's a problem.
Arched eyebrows.
This guy isn't broken yet. Or just, I always looked at it. I was more of a Star Trek kid.
Yeah.
I always kind of looked at the elves as Vulcans.
Yeah.
Very calculated, logical.
Very cold.
Cold, yeah. But they got shit done.
Yeah.
And these ones, they're just kind of dicks. They just seem like assholes, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they're all supposed to be, like, impossibly beautiful, and I was like, some of these people...
Oh, my God, they're chuds.
I don't know, man. I don't know, man.
I mean, like, who was the one who's kind of our Legolas in this? The one who meets up with the healer. The girl who's a healer. Her son pulled the floorboards up.
Oh, goodness. I know
but you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, the guy. There's a guy.
I'll tell you.
He's, like, black, maybe?
Arendor?
Starts with an A.
Arendir.
Yeah, there we go.
Ismael Cruz Cordova.
Yeah.
And I liked him. I thought he was interesting. I kind of liked that he has a hots for a human, and they're kind of like.
Apparently, that's not okay. That was new. I was like,
but what I got out of that was basically the humans all got screwed over by the elves. Like the elves saved their lives and just kind of did what they did to Native Americans and put them on a reservation.
Yeah,
and they're like the cops to the humans now.
I mean. This is I think this did happen in the Silmarillion, where it's like, basically some of the human tribes or some of the human people chose to side with the Dark Lord Morgoth, who was Sauron's boss before he got killed. So, like, because they chose the wrong side, now, like, the elves find them highly untrustworthy, and that's why they're watching them like that.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's still steeped in Tolkien, but still kind of, it was interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, I like the actor playing the elf. I did find it a little off-putting, and I don't know how other people felt about it. It's the one time with the diversity casting where it felt weird watching a bunch of white humans yelling at a black elf. And
or racism.
It felt so much more... If it was just a white elf, you'd go, oh, they just don't like elves. And it's like... Do you not like elves or you don't like that elf? That's how it felt to me. It felt gross.
It did feel a little bit weird.
And I really liked that character. I'm like, I want more of this dude. I want this dude to be Legolas. I want him like grabbing an elephant or whatever the hell they were riding in that first one, jumping, surfing shields, kicking ass. He's got a bow and he never uses the goddamn thing. And I'm like, this isn't the party I've signed up for. No. I want some action. Instead, it's like, let's climb an ice mountain. And then all the elves say, nah, we're not going to fight this guy. We're all going to leave. And then she's just sitting there holding her sword and, like, has to go home and choose to go to heaven.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then she jumps off a boat and meets a dude.
There's definitely some weird, like, pacing issues. So I feel like by now the adventure should have started. But what is the adventure? Has it started? I can't tell.
It's not for normies like me. People who don't know that much about Lord of the Rings. If you know about, like, you were explaining characters and kind of timelines. And thank God you were there because I didn't know what the hell was going on. I was making it up at one point. I'm just like, I don't know, this guy did this guy, this guy's pissed at this one, and I didn't care. I honestly, it's so all over the place.
Yeah.
It's running from A to B to C to D to A to B. And
we don't know why.
Yeah, it just jumps.
No idea what anyone's motivations are or why they're doing any of the things they're doing.
Yeah, it's a slow burn, and it's not fun. Like Lord of the Rings. I don't even know if I
call it a slow burn. It's just because it's not moving forward.
Yeah, we got to see if the fire ever starts, I guess.
Yeah, and so like back to like the IP things. I really think that's the root of the issue.
Yeah, go for it.
Is that like honestly, I think this series could have succeeded if they treated the Rings of Power series as a full readaptation of the trilogy, but they like actually had enough time to actually go more, so even deeper into the Tolkien world than Peter Jackson did. Like if they were able to hit all the characters, for example.
Yeah.
And then, so the way I know I just talked about this on Lunch Break Friday, but I think the best way they could have dealt with this IP problem, if I had to give any advice to Amazon people, what they should have done is they should have taken the Berserk route, which was initially there was a 90s anime that covered the Golden Age arc of Berserk. And that came out. It's by the same studio that did Pokemon of all things. So it was like weird.
And you were telling me this is like a dark cartoon.
It's super dark.
Yeah.
So it's the same like kind of art style, but like for some reason way dark now. And so that was like 24 episodes, I think. Okay. And then later on, like in the 2000s, they came out with 3 anime movies. So those are all 90 minutes each. And the way people have described it is that the anime movies are kind of like the biggest hits or best hits of Berserk. So you can get all the major story beats in the trilogy, but if you want to know what really happened, like beat by beat by beat, you watch the anime.
Yeah.
And I feel like what they should have done with the Lord of the Rings stuff, if that's the IP you got, and it's the only thing you got, you pay billions of dollars for, you should have treated Peter Jackson's movies as the greatest hits of Lord of the Rings, and then just went committed to Lord of the Rings, not just the appendices.
Yeah. And did you like the special effects?
They were fine.
It was
all very shiny.
1 minute they're great, and the next minute they're just okay.
Yeah.
It's almost like they had 2 different teams. Whoever was doing the backgrounds and whoever was doing the character designs felt like 2 different teams.
Yeah.
You know, like
and like I think a lot of times they've been getting a lot more praise for just how everything looked, and I feel like I don't know. I feel like I enjoyed the way things looked in the movies more. I don't know. It felt more real.
It felt more filmatic.
Yeah.
This feels like the typical Marvel Disney, you know, everything's got to be CGI'd. We can't have a thing that's not. Everything has to be fake. And I'm sick of it. I'm so fucking sick of it. The way they used to. And I don't know. I want to find out if they did that with this was the way Jackson would do the shoot the hobbits to look shorter than everybody was all just the they were camera tricks.
Yeah.
And they were brilliant. They looked great. They looked real because they were freaking real. They actually did. It was an actor reacting to an actor. God fucking forbid.
But also part of it is I wonder, like, when you have so many like backgrounds that are gorgeous. You know how in Incredibles the main bad guy was like, if everyone's super then no one is. Like it kind of felt like that, but like with some of the visuals where everything was so gorgeous.
Yeah.
That eventually everything just looked the same.
It's all sizzle, no steak.
And you're like, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know why I didn't get that for the Lord of the Rings when I was watching the movies.
Lord of the Rings feels lived in.
Yeah.
The world feels like
the things are dirty.
It's been through stuff. The people look. The only people that look dirty in this are kind of the humans.
And the hobbits.
And the hobbits literally have dirt and shit in their hair.
But that also felt weird because why would they do that?
I don't know.
Why would anyone live like this?
My guess is they were hiding, and that's like camouflage.
I guess.
Because they really are not part of the world. They constantly wait till someone walks by, then they pop out of their hidey holes.
Yeah, I heard what this was that like in the appendices or in the Silmarillion or somewhere, they mentioned that the hobbits aren't really present in the Second Age, and I guess whoever was writing Rings of Power was just like, you know what? Maybe they're not being mentioned in official records because they were hiding underground from everyone, which is a cool way to think about it.
That is, because you know what? Unfortunately, they kind of need to be there because they are your through line in every one of the movies.
Yeah.
Going from Hobbits to
also,
to
it's
Lord
like
of the
what
Rings.
makes the Middle Earth universe a little bit more special as well, because very few other things have Hobbit-like creatures.
Yeah, and they're
the same way.
because they're not like the dwarves, where the dwarves are strong and kind
and
of
also, other
boisterous.
fantasy series have dwarves. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and the hobbits are just kind of hippies. They're just kind of like they smoke weed and
they're
eat
like
a
the
lot.
most normal people.
Yeah, they're just they just live a fun life. It's maybe not the most healthy life,
Or the most productive.
but you know what? They're always happy. They're always kind of like getting into and taking them out of their element the way they did with Frodo and Bilbo. That's what made them more interesting. Is they've never seen adventure, and then when they do, they get they're all addicts.
Yeah, I mean, I love that scene where, like, you know, the scene in the Fellowship where, like, Sam stops in the middle of this field and is like, "This is the furthest I've been out in the Shire," and I was like, you know,
but
that's an iconic scene right there.
Yeah, and it and like I said, they have very addictive personalities. And Bilbo especially gets addicted to adventure. It's not even just the ring.
Yeah.
He's addicted to life outside of the Shire. He hates his family. He just want
to get out.
He's just like, I
go exploring.
I have seen the top of the mountain and it is good. And he is just like, you guys got to get out of the sticks, man.
Yeah.
You know? And that's why I think they are the most interesting.
But also, that's where that sense of adventure comes from.
Yeah.
I don't really feel like anyone had quite that character type in there.
They just felt like they were there.
And that basically it felt like they were being compelled to go on an adventure and no one knows why, but they have to for some reason.
Yeah, it felt very there was never a moment in the show, in the 2 episodes we watched, where I felt like I gave a crap. I didn't care about anybody.
It just felt like things were happening.
Yeah, and they don't.
And then when the Comet Man came down, I was like, what the hell?
And that was the most interesting thing. And even that, I'm just like you thought maybe he was a wizard.
Yeah, I was reading online. Some people were saying it might be a wizard or Gandalf or something.
Yeah, and all right, that's cool. Like, whatever, he's a star man. I'll take a little bow. Yeah, it's cool. You know, man who fell to earth, whatever. But, I mean,
that wasn't exciting after a while.
No, he's just eating stuff and being a weirdo. And he doesn't know how to live in a world. And they're trying to teach him. And he's just like, just a little wild man.
Yeah, I also can't tell if it's because there's too many storylines going at once. Because we have so many storylines and everything kind of has to slow down because you have to keep jumping between.
Yeah, well, the way I explained it to my friend Evelyn, because she's like, how is it? I go, it's, all right, we're in this story now. That's story A. And then I'm going to run over here, start story B. Then I'm going to come back, start story C, D, and E at the same time. And then walk over here. We're going to do A again. And then go. And you're just like, Jesus Christ.
What the hell's happening?
Stay somewhere.
Yeah.
Just let me figure. Like, because at least Lord of the Rings
ground myself.
Goes from A to B to C to D. This is just. They're just throwing, and they meet everybody along the way.
Yeah.
And they get added to it.
Yeah, it's not like they introduce everyone at once. Beginning with just Frodo, Sam, and Gandalf, essentially. And then Pippin and Merry, eventually. But yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know.
And then everyone doesn't really enter until Council of Elrond. By that point, it's already 2/3 of the way into the movie.
Yeah, but you get to hang out with these people. You get to know them. In this, you don't. Yes, they're explaining who they are.
Also, no one has really crossed paths yet, so we don't know how all these storylines intersect either.
Besides humans and elves, no.
Yeah.
They're the only ones that really... And Meteor Man.
Yeah.
And the Hobbits.
We don't know how these individual stories connect, and therefore we don't know where the thing is going. That makes sense.
I mean, it goes to prove that just because you have a property doesn't mean you know what you're doing with the property.
Yeah, like I said, I think the best way to have handled it would have been just to do like a more in-depth dive into the Lord of the Rings universe, because you have the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Deal with the Lord of the Rings. Don't only deal with the appendices, because the appendices isn't going to give you like a full story.
But I think they could have...
It's just random supplementary material.
I think, or maybe taking each episode This one deals with the elves.
Yeah, if you
this
do it as
one
an
deals with the
anthology,
humans.
that could have worked.
This one deals with the hobbits.
That's how you should have done a Silmarillion show.
And because that's how the movies worked.
Yeah.
You know, you meet Strider like halfway through the first one, and then suddenly he's our guy. He's our human on the inside.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, and then we meet the elves. Oh, God forbid. And then eventually we meet the dwarves, and you're like, okay, so
because this is the way I feel like video games are also laid out.
It's how
when
guests
they're open world.
Yeah,
stuff
it's
happens.
like guests showing up to a party, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna go talk to Tim. Oh, Jake just showed up. Hey, Jake, how you doing? Come on over and talk to Tim. And they all get to know each other. You get to learn their idiosyncrasies, who they are, how they interact.
Who
you know,
doesn't like who?
I mean, for God's sakes, Legolas barely talks in those movies, and he's one of the most interesting people.
Yeah.
And he has like 3 lines in that whole goddamn series.
Yep.
Because Gimli's doing most of the talking when they're together, and they're a great buddy cop team almost, you know? And there's none of that in this.
It's not fun.
It's
no fun.
The characters are boring. They're not fun. I'm gonna keep watching it because I'm just the psychopath.
Morbidly curious.
Yeah, so we're probably gonna jump back into this.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's like one last thing maybe to lead with
Final
or
thoughts.
to end with, which is like, I feel like I was always told that like you know a strength of a good pilot if you watch it and then you know what's in store next, right? Because a pilot needs to be able to kind of show the viewers what to expect so that they can come back next week. I don't know what they were trying to show me with the first 2 episodes, so I don't know what to expect on Friday, to be honest.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, but we're gonna check it out.
Yeah, I've also heard people say that like they're wondering because like I think a lot of people were upset at some like inaccurate bits or parts that felt like the team was just making it up and not part of Tolkien stuff. And then they were saying that, but that also happens in The Hobbit. Why is it more excusable in The Hobbit than it is here?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. I think we just assume Peter Jackson has a great love and respect for the property. I don't know how I feel about the Rings of Power people.
Yeah, no, he's a deep diver, and I think whoever wrote this knew about Lord of the Rings, but I don't think they had that love for it that Peter Jackson and his crew had.
Or like they don't know what makes it work.
Yeah.
What makes this a timeless story that became made Tolkien the father of modern fantasy.
Yeah.
And then inspired George R.R. Martin, which now is funny because now it's competing against House of the Dragon.
Which, to be honest, I don't give a crap about that either because it just looks like a bunch of elves running around. And I know they're the Mother Dragon's family or whatever. I forget what they're called.
Targaryens?
Yeah. But you know what?
Game of Thrones.
I'm just kind of sick of blonde white people in all these freaking things. And that's coming from an ex-blonde white guy.
Pretty blonde white people.
I used to have blonde hair, and you know what? Damn, we suck.
But, I don't know. I just think that now people are saying the House of Dragons thing is better than this, or it's more fun.
I can imagine that just because Lord of the Rings, not Lord of the Rings,
House of the Dragon,
Game of Thrones, whatever.
Yeah.
They knew how to build a world. And they did a great job of it. Even though they jumped around, they spent time with each individual class.
Yeah.
And society. And you got to know them.
Yeah.
The first episode's all Sean Bean and his family and setting up Westeros. Is Westeros?
Yes, Westeros.
It's been a while.
And also like the Lannisters, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. This was a slog. This was a slog.
I kept trying to look up how many episodes there are. I can't find out. And I'm like, so I don't know how long this is going to go for.
15
Forever.
hours.
Hour and some change episode each time, not knowing where the hell things are going.
Seriously.
I don't know how I feel. So I don't know. I can't say it's going to be a ride, but
I mean, I'm going to admit I heard about it and I wasn't that excited to begin with. When they first announced it, they first bought it. I was
like, why?
And it was really because I was so just disheartened by the Hobbit movies that should have been one big awesome movie, possibly 2. I did not need that third.
No.
The third act dragon slaying bullshit. I mean,
the book is not big.
Lord of the Rings, the originals are perfection. Hobbit is family-friendly trash. It's just goofy and silly, and it leans too hard into it.
Yeah.
And then this is just, You know all that crazy fun you had in Hobbit? Yeah, and you know all that like really serious cool stuff you saw in Lord of the Rings? Yeah, we're just going to take the most boring parts of both and just, here you go, enjoy. And as a person who doesn't really read the books, you have to write kind of for everyone when you're doing something this epic.
Yeah.
And Jackson knew how to do that. At least with the first 3.
I couldn't tell what they were trying to do in terms of whether or not they were trying to write for everyone, because sometimes it felt like they weren't. And then other times, for example, like every time they named a place name in or flashed to the maps, they always had those like weird little subtitles telling you what things were. And I was like, why are you telling me this? This never happens in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. It's just they show up.
You're just dumbing it down for me for some reason.
Well, they kind of had to, because this is just, there's nothing to grab. There's nothing. I am not sitting there and remembering what half these people look like. Honestly, they're a bunch of, like, I don't know who these people are. They don't have a presence the way the Jackson cast had. They had when Strider takes his hoodie off before, and you're just like, oh, this guy's gonna get bad. This is our Han Solo. Let's get this done. You fall in love with Samwise. You fall in love with everyone in those movies. Even Samwise,
and they're all very distinctive.
Who's kind of annoying, but you grow to love him.
Yeah.
Mr. Frodo. Oh no, Mr. Frodo, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna hate this guy. And by the second movie, you're like, no, this guy's
best buddies. They are best buddies. They cannot be separated.
He's awesome. He's absolutely awesome. There's no Golem. It's just nothing.
I don't know. It just seems weird because I don't even know how many main cast members were introduced in the first 2 episodes. But like even with the Fellowship, they had 9 people to deal with, and yet they still managed to make all of them distinctive. So
and you knew all their backstories
in 2 hours. So I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I hope we're wrong. I hope we're wrong.
Sticks the landing.
Because you know what? It is a cool property. It deserves better than the first 2 episodes are giving it. But who knows? They might turn into something epically cool.
It seems like a strange way to start a show. It's like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, no, it's a bore fest.
Yeah, this does not make me want to watch it more. And then also because I have an Amazon Fire TV. Yeah. So every time I turn on Amazon Prime at all, I don't know if you guys have Amazon Fire TVs, but every time I turn on Prime, the first thing that flashes is black screen that says Rings of Power. I was just like, wow, the marketing budget for this must be big.
And the title alone sucks. Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power. Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power. It's like, you couldn't come up with something snappier than that. Like, really? That's the best you could come up with is the Rings of Power? It sounds like a kid's show.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I just feel like I honestly feel like whoever is handling this property kind of fucked it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And so we'll see where it goes.
We'll see. Who knows? Like you said, we may be surprised. We may be eating our words on the next episode, but I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah.
But
wait, who knows? Maybe like there's that Lord of the Rings anime movie that's coming out. Maybe that won't be better.
What? I didn't know this.
There is one that's like done by Japan, so it's like
that'd be interesting.
There's an anime. So I think it's like Lord of the Rings: War of the Rohirrim or something. Who knows? Maybe the Japanese people get it right.
Listen, they know they can do. They know how to do epic. I mean, anime like that. That actually is not a bad world to put this in.
Yeah, who knows, man? So I'm like,
maybe
I'm more excited for that one than the rest of it.
Yeah, and people won't complain about the special effects.
Because everything's animated. But yeah.
All
so
right.
that's our thoughts on Rings of Power.
It's the best we could do. Because there's nothing to this.
I don't know. I can't tell. Like, one of my favorite movie reviewers on YouTube is like, has this like rating that's like, better off drunk or something. I can't even tell if I'd enjoy this more if I was drunk.
Oh no, if you made a drinking game out of this and every time you fell asleep and then got woken up you had to take a shot, you'd be you just keep passing right back out because it's just boring. I'm bored. I need more Boromir and less boring.
Yes.
That's the only name I could think of.
But yeah, anyway, that's that for us. If you like what you see, please subscribe to the channel.
Yes, please. Enstarz, like and subscribe. I've been Adam Mock.
And I'm Jess.
And we will see you next time. Hopefully this show gets better. Heaven help us.
Bye.
See ya.
Thanks.
4.
Watching.
Enstarz.
Please be
Sure.
2. Like.
comment
And
Subscribe.
Yay!